Bosnia, June 1995. A US fighter pilot is shot down over the war-ravaged country.
I thought I was dead right then and there.
He survives, but is trapped behind enemy lines for 6 days, hunted like an animal. US Marines swoop in for a daring rescue.
If this doesn't go well, we're going to be selling shoes at Sears tomorrow morning.
For the downed pilot,
This is Zulu.
failure could mean death. Starving, cold, and alone, Scott O'Grady's life depends on one thing: his ability to remain absolutely still.
I just knew that they weren't out there just to capture me. They're there to put a bullet through my head.
Yugoslavia is being ripped apart by a vicious civil war. Ancient grievances explode in brutal bloodshed. In the state of Bosnia, rival factions battle for supremacy. The Serbs are winning, ruthlessly killing hundreds of thousands of Muslims. A genocide the media call ethnic cleansing. Armed Serb militias roam the countryside looking for victims. The region is in a state of complete lawlessness. In a village in northern Italy, 29-year-old US Air Force Captain Scott O'Grady gets ready for work. O'Grady is part of a multinational United Nations peacekeeping force that is trying to stop the massacre. His job is to help enforce a ban of all non-NATO military flights over Bosnia to prevent the warring factions from bombing each other. The Bosnian skies are now a no-fly zone.
We were there solely trying to prevent the civilian populace from being decimated.
O'Grady's friend, Captain Bob Wright, will lead today's two-plane patrol. Their planning is meticulous, and with good reason. The Serbs have deadly surface-to-air missiles.
They did periodically fire upon us, and so we spent a little extra time on procedures in case someone actually got shot down.
Tensions have recently escalated between NATO forces and the Bosnian Serbs. Serb ground forces have attacked UN safe havens for Muslims. NATO warplanes responded by pounding their munitions depots. The Serbs retaliated by taking hundreds of UN peacekeepers hostage to use as human shields. They have vowed to shoot down any NATO aircraft flying over their territory.
The ground forces there had a message for us. They expressed how they had a hatred towards us.
Just after midday, Wright and O'Grady head out to their aircraft, a pair of F-16 Fighting Falcons. 370 kilometers away, a Serb missile battery moves through the Bosnian countryside. The commanding officer, a colonel in the Serb army, is more than willing to fire on NATO forces. He prefers to remain anonymous.
What are they doing in my country? That is the question. They are supplying arms to the Muslims, and they attack us. So why should I care about them?
At 1:15 p.m., Wright and O'Grady take off. They head out over the Adriatic at over 500 kilometers per hour. 30 minutes later, they fly into Bosnian airspace. At 8,000 meters, they set up an oval orbit to police the dangerous Bosnian skies. Each side of the circuit is 40 kilometers long. A lap takes about 8 minutes to complete. They will fly this orbit for 2.5 hours. Any violator of the no-fly ban takes his life in his hands. 4 Serb bombers defying the order have already been shot down by the fearsome F-16s. The F-16 is extremely sophisticated. It's highly maneuverable and very fast, with a top speed of Mach 2, over 2,000 kilometers per hour. A powerful onboard computer helps fly the plane, so pilots can concentrate on their main job.
What you really are is a weapons platform.
The F-16 carries a 6-barreled 20mm cannon and a range of missiles, rockets, and bombs. It also has a sophisticated defensive system. An electronic countermeasures unit can detect if the plane is being tracked by radar. Even so, the 2 pilots are careful to keep away from known Serb missile sites. Flying a regular pattern is dangerous.
Didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if you want to try to shoot one of us down, put a surface-to-air missile site underneath us where we're being predictable.
It's exactly what the Serbs have in mind. The colonel moves to a position directly underneath O'Grady and Wright's flight path. The Soviet-made SA-6 is specifically designed to shoot down fast fighter aircraft. It's so lethal, NATO pilots call it the 3 fingers of death.
Once you fire, the chances are that you'll hit your target.
The missiles are radar guided. They follow a beam powerful enough to detect aircraft up to 75 kilometers away, at altitudes up to 10,000 meters. The colonel switches it on. At 2:50 p.m., Bob Wright's radar alarm goes off. His instruments tell him it's an SA-6. Wright's call sign is Basher 5-1. He radios O'Grady.
Basher 5-1, Mud 6, bearing 090.
That means I had an SA-6 off to my east.
Basher 5-2, make it.
I report back to him that I don't have an indication of a threat.
Then, the radar signal disappears. Wright contacts NATO's airborne early warning system to check if they can detect an SA-6 in the area.
And they said that right now they had no indications.
It must be a false alarm. The pilots continue their patrol. 8,000 meters below them, with that brief burst of radar, the Serb commander has begun a deadly game. He knows the fighter planes can detect his radar. If he switches it on for too long, the pilots will locate him and take him out.
We would be killed, and our weapons would have been destroyed.
The colonel has a cunning plan. That short pulse of radar was just enough to give him the speed, heading, and altitude of the F-16s. He will fire his missiles without radar guidance and only switch it on at the last possible moment, 5 seconds from impact. If he misses, he and his team are dead. They only have one chance. The 3 fingers of death point straight at the jets.
I gave the order to fire.
The SA-6 missile is armed with a high-explosive warhead designed to fragment on impact and totally destroy the target. With a range of 24 kilometers and a top speed of over 3,000 kilometers per hour, it will reach the F-16s in under 10 seconds. With no radar signal guiding it, the missile is invisible to Wright and O'Grady. Two NATO jets police the skies over Bosnia. They have been targeted by a Serb missile battery. The Serb commander feels justified in shooting them down.
They provoked us. They bombed us. Did it occur to them they may have killed someone on the ground?
5 seconds before the missile reaches the F-16's altitude, the Serb colonel switches the radar guidance back on. An alarm goes off in O'Grady's cockpit.
Basher 5-2, 16 bearing 090. Basher 5-1, naked.
Now flying nearly 2 kilometers apart, Wright gets no radar warning. Could it be another false alarm? The SA-6 radar beam bounces off O'Grady's aircraft and is picked up by a dish in the missile's nose. The reflected beam guides it towards its target. A louder alarm goes off in O'Grady's headset. Wright sees the missile breaking through the clouds, heading for O'Grady.
Basher 5-1, missiles in the air, missiles in the air.
I called missiles in the air and then brake.
But O'Grady doesn't hear him. The missile explodes between the two planes. But another missile is already on its way.
Counter, counter, counter.
O'Grady has no time to react.
My thumb didn't even get to the decoy button before the missile impacted. I thought it was dead right then and there.
The plane breaks apart and plunges out of the sky. Wright loses sight of O'Grady's cockpit.
Basher 5-2 has been hit.
I never saw him eject. I never saw him in a parachute.
Inside the tumbling cockpit, O'Grady's training kicks in.
You just have to automatically know what to do right then and there, or you will die.
He reaches for the eject handle. Milliseconds later, an explosive catapult fires the ejection seat out of the aircraft. O'Grady plummets towards the Earth at over 190 kilometers per hour. He is lucky to be alive, but he knows he's not out of danger yet.
Was to say that the parachute hadn't been burned or damaged. I just might fall to my death.
He pulls the cord. To his relief, the parachute works perfectly. At around 4,000 meters, the ejection seat automatically drops away, leaving O'Grady with a survival kit, drinking water, a first aid kit, and a 9mm pistol. Serbs patrolling the nearby area see O'Grady's parachute. They know he has a long way to fall. They have plenty of time to get to him. O'Grady is falling into densely forested hills, approximately 45 kilometers southwest of Banja Luka, a Serb stronghold. The army instructs local police forces to find him. They send out 2 search parties. One is moving southwest from Banja Luka. The other is moving northwest from Sarajevo. Their commanding officer is Milutin Plijevalcic, a major in the Bosnian Serb police force.
I was in charge of 120 policemen and 60 paramilitary units. I knew the area very well, so I was pretty confident we would catch him.
As the ground looms closer, O'Grady's pulse quickens. A group of armed men are waiting for him.
It was very obvious to me that they were there to try to capture me. And I knew that I'm not going to have much time to be able to escape as soon as I hit the ground.
He is heading straight at them, but a gust of wind carries him out of their reach. 25 minutes after ejecting, O'Grady lands in the wooded hills of northwest Bosnia. He is deep inside Serb territory. Gunmen are racing towards him. If they catch him, his chances of survival could be slim.
They'll just as much kill you and blame it on the other side. And I didn't want to be a part of any propaganda, dead or alive.
He must get away, fast. The gang of Serb gunmen are closing in. Their prey is running south, away from the road. But after less than 200 meters, O'Grady suddenly stops.
The situation came down on top of you like a weight, and you realize that the best thing to do is not to run. The best thing to do is you need to find a hiding spot.
His heart is pounding. He's jolted by a horrifying thought. He's left his backup radio and half his water rations at the landing site. It could be a fatal mistake. The Serbs find the American's parachute minutes after he's landed. He can't be far away.
The area is full of mountains and woods. I know it very well.
Hiding out less than 200 meters away, O'Grady tries to contact Wright. He uses their squadron nicknames.
Hey, Wilbur, this is Zulu.
But all he hears is static.
Hey, Wilbur, this is Zulu.
Wright must be out of range, on his way back to base. He's alone, but not for long. 1,500 kilometers away, Admiral Leighton Smith, Commander-in-Chief of NATO forces in southern Europe, learns that a NATO pilot has been shot down.
When a coalition pilot goes down, everything else comes to a screeching halt. I have the authority to do whatever I have to do to get them back, and that includes the use of force.
The Bosnian skies are now too dangerous for regular patrols. The Admiral moves the circuits out to sea, about 100 kilometers from the coast. NATO pilots can monitor the no-fly zone on radar while checking for radio signals from O'Grady.
The likelihood of survival was very low, but there was no guarantee that the pilot was dead.
The Admiral orders an assault ship, the USS Kearsarge, to position itself near the coast. On board is a team of elite US Marines, specialists in rescue operations. Colonel Martin Berndt, the team's commanding officer, puts them on 24-hour standby.
It was kind of like, okay, this is why we're here. Let's start getting ready.
The Serbs are closing in on O'Grady. Only 5 meters away, he gets a close look at his pursuers.
They were like paramilitary. They're less trained than regular soldiers are, but usually they're more violent. When I heard their gunshots, I just knew that they weren't out there just to capture me. They're there to put a bullet through my head.
The paramilitaries don't obey military protocol. They do the dirty work for the Serb command.
The paramilitary forces were not honorable soldiers. Their main aim was to destroy as much of the enemy as they could, and to steal and to plunder.
For 8 long hours, O'Grady doesn't move. When he's sure he's alone, he tries the radio again.
Anyone? Basher 5-2.
There is no response. O'Grady knows that to have a hope of making contact, he must climb to higher ground. To avoid detection, he can only move at night.
I realized that any movement I could make could create noise, that could draw attention to my location. Any type of movement would be very meticulous, very slow.
All night, O'Grady feels his way through the woods. He knows the Serbs are watching and waiting.
We took advantage of the nighttime for listening to and observing the territory, just in case there was a flicker of light or any sort of signal that we could intercept.
The next day, the Serb leadership issues an order that makes O'Grady's situation even worse.
We received the order that the army should stop searching for the pilot, so we wouldn't be considered guilty of his murder when he was captured by the paramilitaries.
The hunt for the downed pilot is left to the Serbian police, the paramilitaries, and anyone with a gun.
Although the terrain was under our control, there were many other groups circulating around. Criminals operating outside the sphere of the state's institutions, and absolutely everyone had weapons.
Znaš koliko ja sam platio kafu sinoć? Joj. Stvarno? Stvarno? Ma idi, brate, ne znam. Ne znaš ništa, bre, je ovaj kurac. Si vidio Baju? Stvarno? Stvarno? Ma idi, brate, ne znam.
O'Grady hasn't eaten since he left the base in Italy 2 days ago. Now he faces a new threat: hunger.
I really didn't start to feel, hungry till after 2 days on the ground.
There are no wild berries or fruit. In survival training, he ate leaves. He runs through the edibility test. Rub the plant on the outside of your lip, then on the inside. Then hold it in your mouth for 5 minutes, then swallow. At the first unpleasant symptom, send it back. He suffers no ill effects, so he tries some more.
They were just very dry and very bitter, and the grass was very coarse with fiber.
He cannot survive on leaves and grass alone, and digestion uses up water. He's down to his last 3 packs. He knows he's running out of time.
I was dehydrated through the survival situation of consistently being awake, never slept at night, took a 20-minute nap during the daylight hours. My heart's racing like I'm running a marathon. Your body's exerting a great amount of energy when you're cold and you're wet and you're shivering, trying to stay warm.
That night, O'Grady finally reaches a hill. To get to the top, he must move across open ground, making himself an easy target. But he can't wait any longer. He has no choice but to take the risk. On the 4th day of combing the area, the Serbs think they've picked up O'Grady's trail.
We came across numerous signs in the woods, which indicated to us the presence of someone who was not from our own forces.
Suddenly, O'Grady is awoken by a sharp noise. A farmer taking his cows to a new pasture. The smallest movement could frighten the animal and make the farmer curious.
If I was exposed by the cow's handler, he'd be able to tell people that would then want to come and get me.
"370 kilometers away, pilots at the Aviano base are not sure if O'Grady is alive.
There is always that doubt, but we would not accept that. As far as brothers in arms, fighter pilots, we're going to go out and find him, we're going to bring him home, or we're going to do everything we can to do that.
His chances are pretty damn slim. We probably would have heard something by now. Everything tells us he's either dead or they got him. But we got to keep looking.
NATO jets with radar jamming equipment continue to fly over Bosnia, listening for any signal from the downed pilot. O'Grady hears a jet overhead. He tries to make contact. But the jet is flying fast and high. It's soon out of range. O'Grady drinks his last water pack. Now, his situation is desperate.
You start to get delirious, you don't make correct decisions when you're dehydrated, and you have a greater risk of dying from dehydration than malnutrition.
Unless he finds water soon, he will suffer from headaches and dizziness. In his brain, chemical and electrical systems will misfire and short-circuit. His blood pressure will drop. Finally, his brain cells will die, leading to delirium, unconsciousness, and ultimately, death. Early that evening, O'Grady's prayers are answered. He stores what he can, but it's only a temporary fix. O'Grady spends his 4th night in Bosnia trying to make radio contact. He's had no luck using a voice frequency, so he tries the radio's beacon. It transmits a constant signal over a range of 160 kilometers. The only problem is that anyone with a receiver can pick it up. O'Grady turns it on for only a few seconds. But there's no response. NATO pilots listening out for him are picking up beacon signals, but they're not convinced they are O'Grady's.
We got reports of beacons, but they weren't anywhere near where he was shot down. That's an old ploy. They'll take a beeper and put it out in some place and they'll set a trap.
O'Grady tries the beacon again. He's using up his battery and exposing himself to the enemy, but it's his only hope. Less than a kilometer away, the Serbs are scanning the airwaves.
Ej, čuti! Aj, gospodine, slušaj.
They pick up the pilot's signal. Scott O'Grady is climbing a hill to get better reception for his radio. He tries the radio's beacon. It transmits a constant signal to a distance of 160 kilometers. He could be exposing his position to the enemy, but it's his only hope. He's about to give up when he hears something.
2, this is Flashman. You hear me? Basher 5-2, this is Flashman. If you hear me.
Only NATO pilots know his call sign. They haven't given up on him.
I hear a faint broken transmission. I don't hear him clearly right off the bat. But then when I hear him clearly, I had a lot of emotions.
Flashman, this is Basher 5-2.
Basher 5-2, this is Flashman. If you hear me.
Flashman, this is Basher 5-2. How do you hear?
But Flashman can't hear him.
Anybody! This is Basher 5-2.
Flashman is gone. O'Grady's radio signal couldn't reach him. But it did reach the nearby Serbs. Loud and clear. He can't be far away. On the other side of the hill, O'Grady feels a renewed optimism after hearing Flashman. O'Grady has now spent 4 days without proper food. He is desperate to find something to eat. Anything at all. His 4 years of Air Force training come to the rescue.
Pound for pound, I think there's more protein in a big mesh of ants than there is in a nice steak. The ants are crunchy and they're sour.
After dark, O'Grady prepares to move out. He must reach the top of the hill soon to make contact with NATO planes. The Serbs can't be far away. He climbs all night, every so often switching on the beacon. But there's no one out there. Just before dawn, he finds a place to hide. He's tired and thirsty, but he's out of water. He has to resort to extreme measures.
My feet were very wet and cold the entire time, so I just wrung out the socks. You're trying to do everything you can to maintain a will to survive.
It's taken O'Grady 6 agonizing nights, but he has finally made it to the top of the hill. He gives his beacon a brief burst. Then he listens and waits, hoping his battery will last. He tries the beacon again and again, Suddenly, he hears 3 clicks, like a live microphone on the other end. Someone is listening. Could it be the Serbs? At 1:25 a.m., Captain Thomas Hanford, with the 510th Squadron out of Aviano, completes his no-fly zone patrol out by the coast. For the past 6 days, he and his fellow pilots have been listening for any signal from O'Grady. Hanford has been in the air for more than 3 hours. He has 20 minutes of fuel left. Then he has to use his reserve tank. He decides to make an extra effort to try and find O'Grady before heading back to base.
This is Basher 1-1 looking for Basher 5-2.
I'd get nothing. I would say, this is Basher 1-1 looking for Basher 5-2. And I would just hear shh, just a constant, even static.
Hanford's wingman radios him. It's time to go home. But Hanford wants to keep trying.
This is Basher 1-1 looking for Basher 5-2.
He struggles to listen through the static.
And it's like when I was a child, closing my eyes at night, thinking I had heard something and trying to hear it better. I mean, we're up at 20,000 feet. There's nobody to run into.
It's 2 a.m. Hanford has now got just enough reserve fuel to get home, but he doesn't want to give up yet.
I was going to have to get a little bit closer, possibly over land, to have any chance of hearing anybody.
Now over land, he's in danger of running out of gas, and he's put himself within range of Serb missiles.
Looking for Basher 5-2.
His wingman is not happy.
My wingman called me and said, hey, you got to turn back. You're too far over land. While he's telling me this, I hear what may be a voice.
Basher 5-2, Basher 5-2.
It's very faint.
Basher 5-2, this is Basher 1-1 on Alpha.
He hears it again.
Basher 5-2, would you let it clear head?
Hanford alters his flight path to keep the weak signal at its strongest.
Basher 1-1 on Alpha, say again.
He picks it up again.
Basher 5-2, would you let it clear head?
Basher 1-1, Basher 5-2.
Hanford's nearly out of fuel. He has only minutes left.
I owed it to him to stay out there. If I had given up at that point, I would always be wondering, could I have done more? And I think with the fuel I had the capacity to do just a little bit more. And I was going to do that.
Basher 5-2, this is Basher 1-1 on Alpha, say again.
As I'm flying right at the edge of this missile ring, I'm starting to hear this voice say, Basher 1-1, Basher 5-2. And so I asked, who is this? This is Basher 1-1, say your call sign.
Basher 5-2. Basher 5-2.
Basher 5-2, this is Basher 1-1. You're loud and clear.
I'm alive!
I'm alive. I'm alive.
Copy that, you're alive. Good to hear your voice.
You know, I can't believe I'm hearing him, that he's actually alive. It was a very emotional moment. I did have tears streaming down my face as I was flying and trying to talk on the radio.
You want to laugh, you want to scream, you want to cry, you want to jump for joy. It's kind of like another chance of rebirth and a shot at life.
But Hanford is not the only one to receive O'Grady's transmission. The Serbs have worked out his position. They must get to him before the Americans. Minutes later, in London, Admiral Smith is woken up by a phone call.
Admiral Smith? My first thought was, man, you don't ever get any good news at 1:37 in the morning.
Mike.
His friend and colleague, General Mike Ryan, commander of NATO's Air Force in Southern Europe, gives Smith the news about O'Grady.
Without either of us either twitching or anything, we said we're going to go get him.
Marty?
Both commanders want to initiate an immediate rescue. But there's one big problem. The fighter jets they need to protect the mission from ground attack
As soon as possible.
are not available till morning. It takes time to gather the squadron and prepare the aircraft.
It became apparent that we weren't going to be able to get in under cover of darkness. And that's a big deal. Huge deal.
45 minutes after making contact with O'Grady, Hanford comes back on the radio. He's refueled and flown back out to give O'Grady the news. He might have to wait another day.
I wasn't happy with that, and I told them that I wanted to get out of there immediately.
Hanford stays out to keep O'Grady company.
I could tell he was very anxious and very eager to get out and very scared. You know, it was all I could do to just say, hey, they're gonna get you. Just hang in there. The whole world is behind you.
O'Grady knows the Serbs probably picked up his beacon and are racing towards him. He may only have minutes left. The Serb army are aware of the rescue plan.
When he contacted his people, we knew about it. What was going on was known about in seconds.
Okay, here's the situation. We can get the fixed-wing air cover.
Admiral Smith knows that O'Grady's situation is dire.
It's your call.
He's in the middle of a war zone, with hundreds of armed men searching for him. He also knows that the Serb army controls the area, and they have heavy anti-aircraft weapons.
If we didn't go that night, we would lose the element of surprise, and that would put everybody, including O'Grady, at greater risk.
Admiral Smith calls Colonel Burnt, the commanding officer of the Marines rescue team. He gives him a stark choice. Go now in darkness without the air support, or in broad daylight with it.
The principal factor was we didn't want to put our young men at risk without being assured that everything that we could possibly have at our disposal was.
Colonel Burnt chooses to wait for the fighter jets and go in daylight.
I said, okay, Marty, you're a go.
1 minute before sunrise, the rescue mission lifts off. 2 Super Stallion helicopters carrying 43 Marines are followed by 2 Cobra gunships and 4 Harrier jump jets. They are backed up by about 40 heavily armed aircraft. O'Grady hears his radio crackle. It's Hanford.
I said, they're coming to get you.
Now all O'Grady can do is wait and hope. Daylight makes the mission much more dangerous. The Bosnian countryside is crawling with anti-aircraft weapons. Slow-moving helicopters are an easy target.
Was it risky? Yes, it definitely was risky. Could you lose an airplane with 15, 20 Marines aboard? Yes, you could.
After I gave him the order to go, I called up Mike Ryan. I said, Mikey, you know, if this doesn't go well, we're going to both be selling shoes at Sears tomorrow morning.
O'Grady is worried. He knows his rescuers will be an easy target.
In the attempt of rescuing me, I didn't want anybody to get hurt.
Just over 10 minutes after leaving the ship, the rescue team enters Bosnian airspace. Their flight path is outside the reach of known Serb missile sites. It will take them nearly an hour to reach O'Grady. They don't know what forces are moving in to meet them. Colonel Burnt is on full alert for any sign of hostile forces.
Because it was so early, we were kind of hoping that some of the people that would want to do us harm may have been hungover from a rough night the night before.
I had given him the authority to do whatever he needed to do. Between Marty and me, that means if anybody tries to stop you, kill him.
2 F-18s are the first to reach O'Grady. They make radio contact to confirm his position.
Mark!
O'Grady's survival vest contains a global positioning system. It can calculate his location to within 30 meters. He gives them his coordinates. The rescue helicopters are just minutes away. The Serbs know they're coming.
The army had a radar system. It would have been impossible for any aircraft to have flown into the area unnoticed.
They prepare to battle the Marines. O'Grady hears a sound that makes his heart leap. It's the Marine helicopters.
Longitude 3009, longitude 3009.
He radios his position.
I look up and I see a United States Marine Corps helicopter cresting over the horizon in hostile territory to save my life. And I'm a patriot, but never have I been more proud to be an American than that moment.
He then marks his position with a flare.
I had a boonie hat in my survival kit. As I come out of the woods, Marines that are there to rescue me, they got to be thinking nobody would be stupid enough to be wearing an orange hat in a war zone other than a downed American.
The Serb radar operators have notified all forces near the Marines' flight path. The paramilitaries get into position and wait. After 6 days behind enemy lines, pilot Scott O'Grady is about to be rescued by the US Marines. He's exhausted, starving, and desperate.
I had the pistol in my hand, and it's ready to fire. Anybody gets in my way from me getting on board the helicopter is going to be a threat to my life. I have to deal with that.
The helicopters touch down at 6:42 a.m. The Marines immediately secure the area, ready to go in search of the downed pilot. Suddenly, O'Grady bursts out of the trees.
I think that was a moment for everybody because we knew he was alive. We knew he was not seriously injured.
One of the Marines disarms O'Grady as a safety precaution and helps him aboard the chopper. Serb soldiers prepare to take on the American intruders. 6 minutes after touching down, the choppers take off without firing a single shot. The news reaches Admiral Smith.
It's unbelievable that it's happening, and I shouldn't be impatient. I just wanted information. And then the first piece of information I got that was really serious was pickup. Ah. Yeah.
"5 days and 15 hours after landing behind enemy lines in Bosnia, O'Grady is on his way home. But heavily armed Serb forces, military and paramilitary, have tracked the helicopters and await them on their way out. O'Grady and his rescuers are only 5 minutes from leaving Bosnian airspace when the sky explodes. Artillery shells burst all around them. Shoulder-fired missiles whistle past. The pilots fly as low and as fast as they can, swerving and diving to avoid being hit. But against the clear sky, they are easy targets. O'Grady's worst fears are coming true. All these men could die on his account. The Serbs' final assault comes from the muzzles of paramilitary machine guns. Their bullets rip holes in the helicopters and tear through the cabins. A round hits one of the Marines, but it's stopped by his canteen. The helicopters return fire, but the enemy is well hidden. A round pierces the main rotor. Another hits the tail blades. The rotors are losing pressure. Another round takes out their communications. Finally, the helicopter pilots outmaneuver the Serbs and are in the clear.
As a man, I'm glad in a way he was rescued. But as a professional, I think it was a failure on my part. The fact of matter is that we did not do our job and the pilot escaped. I was very angry.
At 7:29 a.m., the rescue team touched down on the Kearsarge. TV crews are there to record the moment. Captain Scott O'Grady is finally home. He's given a hero's welcome.
We share the relief of his family, his friends, and his loved ones that he is now safe and sound. I can tell you that he's now on a United States aircraft carrier, and we're looking forward to having him back home on American soil.
Scott O'Grady's experience in Bosnia leads him to reevaluate his life.
The three things that sustained me through the experience, my deep faith in God, the love of my family, and the love I have for my country, are also the three things I find the greatest happiness and joy in life as well.
O'Grady's experience in Bosnia also makes NATO reevaluate some of its procedures and systems. But sophisticated technology is not everything. Scott O'Grady's extraordinary survival behind enemy lines was the result of sheer bravery and determination.